Hey, what is up, Polar fam? This is Shib Bear, joined by the one, the only Julian, up here for our Polar Community AMA on this beautiful October 26th, 2022, or October 27th in the morning if you are in the Australia and New Zealand region out there. Shout out to you guys. So again, this is our weekly community AMA here where we can give you guys a direct access to the team, ask any questions that you might have on your mind, go over things that are in progress, happening now, what's to come, all that good stuff there. So, of course, if you guys do have any questions, please simply request to speak live on this AMA or post your questions away in the AMA Questions Weekly channel in Discord that I linked in the community announcements, and we will answer your questions for you live here during the AMA. So we do have a tweet that got put out there. Please go like and retweet that. Thank you all for joining in here. But the big thing is, what is going on? It's past mid-October, right? That's what everyone's saying here. That's what we've heard in the general chat. I totally understand it. But yeah, definitely things take time. Even though Enor was not definite on a date, he did say early to mid-October, and we are definitely by late October now. But what I can say is that I've been personally also working on the white paper with them, and that wasn't like a last second, oh, can you please get this? It was that there was a system set up for which it to be created, and then when the results came back, we decided that we can definitely make it a little bit better of a presentation for those of you who want to read it, right? So instead of just rushing it out there and sticking to that previous timeline, well, we do know that the front end guys are delayed anyway, so let's take the time, get the white paper right, get it to read properly. And quite frankly, the people who were putting it together, they were going off of old information. I had to go in and kind of restructure quite a bit there. So Enor and I are directly on the same page. We're going to get it going, get it live. Obviously, I've read it because I went through every single letter in that entire document. So it is there. It is a thing. Just needs some work to be done. The other aspect of this, like I just mentioned, is the front end guys are still kind of working, getting things situated there for the version 4.0 to go live, right? So contracts have been ready to go. Josh has had that done. It's all good there. But front end really is a thing. Actually, most, Solidity devs here in the space, yeah, they kind of know front end, but they hate it. And I've worked with many devs in DeFi, and it's a totally different beast. Not a lot of people, I think, really enjoy it because it's so fragile, and there's so many different parts to it. And even coding a Figma is quite a bit of work for some, right? So let them kind of do what they do. I also agree. I'm not trying to give excuses. We should have had this out sooner rather than later. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying there. Obviously, we need this stuff to go live months ago. But here we are. We're still working towards it. Like I've kind of mentioned in these announcements, the Polar token is still tradable. Your nodes are still working as they are supposed to. However, you cannot create new nodes. You cannot create new lucky boxes. Those are totally closed down until version 4.0. So whatever you got, you got. Once we roll over to the version 4.0 on the Binance Smart Chain, you will have the option to migrate your nodes over to BSC. Tokens will not migrate to BSC. The liquidity pool and the liquidity pair will remain intact here. On the Avalanche side, you can continue to sell Polar tokens until the LP cannot support the price impact any further. So we're not going to pull the LP. We're not going to do anything like that. We're going to reestablish a new token, try to start a bit fresh on BSC. And yeah, definitely some people want to complain about that, and I totally understand it. But that being said, we do need to protect the future of the protocol while also allowing everyone to keep their nodes in some aspect. Like I have also mentioned, there's going to be some differences about the nodes. And not everyone's going to be super thrilled, but you know how it goes. And I'll be the first one to sit up here and take the criticism or the constructive criticism that anybody might have once we put out those details there. But it's really genuinely necessary for the protocol, right? So if we wanted to keep the same tokenomics, it'll take us, 1 to 2 weeks before we're in the exact same boat that we're currently in now. So that's not a good winning formula. We are going to have to change quite a bit there moving forward. Really get the nodes to kind of integrate with the game side a bit more as we move into the future. I think that's going to be the trend of it. Reading through the white paper, talking to Thenor literally every day, is the node protocol is going to be a very legitimate and prioritized aspect of Polar. But the gamification aspect is very, very important for the future of Polar as well. And finding a way to combine those to work together can kind of differentiate us even from some of the other play-to-earn games that are already out there in the space. Furthermore, let me make sure, from Predzert. He put out an announcement here on the 24th, just 2 days ago, about the PBBR, the Polar Battle Royale game, the kind of like Bomberman style game there, is in testing phase, and we have been getting and gathering testers there. So unfortunately, if you did miss out, they have all the testers they currently need. However, one tester did get kicked out yesterday, so if you act a fool, you will get kicked out and probably replaced. So that could give some others a good chance to get involved if they would like to participate in the stress testing there. Just let us know if there is a space that is available and you want to be a participant, then of course we'd allow you to, but I think right now they are okay with the numbers there. Again, this is just another element. This was some kind of like a little bit of a side development here where it really wasn't in our initial plans, but we said, hey, we can put this together relatively cheaply, and it gives the community at least something to engage with, something to interact with. We could start building it into the actual Polaris side in the future, and we can put it on BSC or we could put it on AVAX, whatever we were at the time that it launched. So that'll be a pretty good adaptation there to the protocol once we do get that live. So as it is said in the general chat, the stress test will start tomorrow. So shout out to that there. Again, if you guys do have any questions, please send a request to speak live or post away in the AMA Questions Weekly channel. Try to post those questions in the AMA Questions Weekly channel, please, and not the general chat. If we see them in the general chat, we'll definitely answer them. But if we do miss them, I do apologize, but we won't miss them if you put them in the AMA Questions Weekly channel. So those are the two ways to get that done. So definitely appreciate you guys there. As far as I'm aware, we are still on pace to get this at least the white paper out, hopefully within the next couple of days. I was working with Enor again this morning, talking with him about kind of what I've done with the white paper so that he's aware of what he needs to add there. And it's been I take pretty detailed notes so we can try to get this thing, moving a little bit quicker. I'm not going to give him one thing at a time. I literally gave him a page full of stuff that we can start working towards with it so that it can get resolved in one swoop. And then we'll go through it a final time or so and get it ready to launch. So hopefully that information will be out sooner rather than later. I think that's going to be a big deal for all of you guys that are in here. 50 plus in this AMA, which is fantastic. Shout out to you guys. The chats have been a bit slower, but I'm glad to see that you are all still in here in this AMA, trying to gather some information as we navigate towards the version 4.0, which I feel like I've been saying for a long time, but hey, it is what it is. Like I said, we do apologize for the delays. It's not the intention. We're not trying to delay there, but Enor nor myself are active developers in the space. We don't do front end. We don't do Solidity, but we do need to be able to manage the teams appropriately. So that does fall back on everybody that's working with Polar here, not the community, obviously us who are engaging with developers, keep them on task, make sure things are going well, and then kind of getting it live via the timelines associated with it. So shout out to all those guys who are working very, very hard on that end, because it is a lot. It's a lot to do there, and it can really, cause quick developers are not always good developers. So sometimes you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of different aspects of the space. I don't really want to go into the totality of the details with my personal opinion on many devs in the space, but there is a lot to go on that goes with getting those things live. So hopefully that somewhat clears it up. I know I speak vaguely. They are fantastic people and they're doing very well at their job. So I don't want to sit here and say that it's your fault, blah, blah, blah. That's not my personality. You guys know who I am. And if we can do things better, we will do things better. And we will personally, I'll call us out for it, right? So Enor's been able to be self-critical, and I'm incredibly self-critical. That's how I believe I got into where I am in life. So we kind of take those things, learn as we go, and then move forward always. Cool. Again, if you guys have any questions, please post away in the AMA Questions Weekly channel or request to speak live. I like when you guys do speak live. It sometimes gets a snowball effect. We'll stick with the cold theme, the polar theme there, and then people start jumping up here. And I know it's even been 2 weeks. I don't have a significant amount of information to put out to you guys just yet, but I do know, like I said, that I've read over the white paper, and I like the vision. I like how it's going to go there, but I do also believe that it has to be displayed differently than it was in the white paper that was going to go out, or that was the first kind of draft, right? So that's a good thing. Let's take a step back. Let's make sure that it actually presents well to you guys, because if it means a good thing and it presents in a not great fashion, then it's going to just be, FUD City in the chats or confusion or whatever. So let's try to eliminate the confusion, get a good doc. It is fairly long because there's a lot of different elements to this. There's a nodes, there's Polaris, there's a PBBR, there's all sorts of stuff here working within the ecosystem itself. And so we can kind of go into each and every one of those aspects piece by piece in the white paper and give the community a pretty valid understanding of where we're going to go there. So I will go into this here while we're kind of waiting for questions to fill up. Is we are taking a little bit of a different approach with the trading bot mechanics as well, right? So, a lot of people get mad about, hey, they took a loss. If you guys don't know, now you know, because projects with hundreds of millions of dollars that utilize trading bots got wrecked in September and October, partially because of choppy markets, very unpredictable, and in my personal opinion, some intentional manipulation tactics, because most trading bots relatively work off the same signals, right? So good traders try to put in signals for the bots to read and react to, and they were kind of going the opposite. They would call a signal, and then they would immediately shoot the market the other way. Let's put my tinfoil hat to the side, doesn't really matter, but other relatively big projects took much more significant losses than we did because we were able to manage the risk with ours. And then we've also learned from it, right? So we didn't have $1 million in there, our entire treasury. We put a relatively small portion of it into there while we learn, develop, understand what we're dealing with here. And now Leonor's kind of identified another style that isn't quite as home runish, right? So a lot of these bots we are working with, some months they were doing 50, 60, 80%, and then other months they were doing minus, right? So instead of taking that huge risk either way, if it has a couple minus 30% months or even weeks, that's a huge deal to your total capital, right? In this approach that we're kind of transitioning to, we'll have a little bit more control over our own money, which is nice. We have a little bit more queues involved, and we have more direct kind of, I don't want to say support, but direct outreach to people who are better at this than what we are, right? Generalization wise. Then we also can be expecting somewhere between in the neighborhood of 8 and 14% quarterly gains, right? So we're talking just a few percent a month. Every 3 months is a quarter. That's a little bit safer for the short term. Let us try to get some return on our money that's more stable, more predictable. And then we can start taking some of those, maybe putting a little bit over into some higher risk area so we can kind of make up for some different things there. But I think that's a smarter way to do it right now. We're not in desperation need to accumulate a huge amount of money to survive. We still have a very healthy treasury. So this way we are able to offset our operation cost and really start growing in to the next phase of Polar, which is very important, as we all kind of know there, because if a project runs out of money, they generally shut down. We've seen it, I know I don't like talking about other projects. We've seen it now. Freeway's going through issues. Yield notes just kind of went down-ish. I don't know what they're doing now. Stable Fund went down. Wealth management went down. Tons of small DeFi projects have gone down in the last 2 weeks. So, and those first few that I listed are hundreds of millions involved between all of them total, like significant money in those things there. So that's scary, right? DeFi's a little scary right now to kind of play in. There's wins, there's losses. Markets are good the last 2 days, but you never know. You could wake up and it's down another 30%. Who the heck knows, right? So keep everything in mind. We are doing what we need to do to maintain the integrity of the protocol each and every step of the way. And a lot of it's management that maybe not everyone is super fond about. It is what it is. That's generally how management works, is not everyone's going to be happy on each element of the results there. Cruise the Rider, you keep kind of requesting to speak and then vanishing. If you would like to request to speak, just do it once there and I'll pull you up here live on the stage. But if you keep popping in and out, I can't actually get to you. So if you would like to speak, just simply request to speak and I'll bring you up there live. And then I'll take a breather because I've just been talking for 15 minutes here. So do we have any questions here within the AMA Questions Weekly channel to go over?
There are actually a few questions. Not that many, but a few. The first question from Huggy619. The week that 100% the migration will occur, can we have one last lottery so everyone with leftover Polar can dump their Polar for a chance to win a node in the new project?
Hey, so that's a great question. So where it's become a little bit challenging to run the lottery is once we turned off node creation, we can't create nodes. So the only way to run a lottery is for us to mint. So we'd have to unblacklist the node creation contract, mint a node, hope that you deacons, little degenerates out there, don't jump in and create a bunch of nodes in the meantime, and then close it off immediately. So it does become a little bit challenging to get those lotteries running with the node creation and Lucky Box creation shut down. Now, there are, I guess, ways to do it. Like if, quite frankly, I've had however many Everest and even a couple Olympus that I don't even, they're just there, right? So that's just what I've done early on. I got a bunch of these things here. So yeah, if I was able to kind of put one into the bundle, then great, but I don't really know how that would work from a smart contract standpoint. So I don't know about using a lottery right now until the next version 4.0 goes live, just because of those reasons.
All right. The next question from JD. When migrating to the BSC, what kind of expectations are there in terms of token dumping or the similar effects we have had over the past month?
Yeah, so JD, it's another great question, right? So we're not trying to put rose-colored glasses on and say, hey, we upgraded version 4.0, everything's fixed, we're fine, we're perfect, we can move forward, right? So this is an issue with any protocol that has a pre-sale, a seed phase, or in our case, a migration with previously established nodes. Is there's going to be people that get over to the BSC side and they're going to take whatever they can get and immediately exit. And I can't fault them for that, right? So it's been a very hard, as I just said, DeFi is rough right now. People are losing money everywhere. We're big money too, right? So it is possible, right? It is possible that we see, as tokens are being generated, that there is still a decrease in the price that we launch it at. That's very, very possible. Ideally, though, it'll be at a lesser extent, definitely in the short term, as we kind of eliminate a ton of the nodes who are not going to choose to migrate, that have been downgraded and that have otherwise been unable to be moved over. And it also creates an element where a lot of these older nodes that move over are going to be required to be reboosted with life potions. So that puts some money back into the protocol that can help sort of offset those issues. But it also creates a situation where someone is now invested again within the protocol. And if you are no longer invested in the protocol tangibly, you still have your nodes, but you choose to no longer invest in this protocol or whatever protocol in this case, you're only going to take what you can out. You'd have no intention of putting it in, right? So it sort of eliminates that aspect too. So we could see a variety of different components via tokenomics, via how many nodes are actually floating around in the ecosystem, and also how many tokens these are admitting, of course, but also hopefully at the investor level to say, hey, if you want to be legitimately involved in the protocol moving forward, a lot of people are going to understand what you're saying there, and maybe they will choose to say, hey, this is something that I'm doing now for the long term, not for the 1 day from now or 2 days from now. And maybe that can change the perception a little bit as we continue to release the Polaris side, different upgrades to the entirety of the ecosystem. And a lot of that will be explained within the white paper itself. So again, I'm not saying that it's going to fix everything by any means, but it's better than where we are today. And that's kind of what I want to get across to people. And what I've been trying to get across in all these AMAs is saying, hey, we're not going to see a total, reshuffle and see positive every day indefinitely once we switch over to BSC, but it puts us in a better position to succeed in the short, mid, and long term than we have been in the last multiple months. And that's hopefully what people kind of understand. If people are choosing to migrate over, maybe they will have that kind of mindset into the protocol. Maybe they won't. I'm not going to sit here and fault someone who wants to take money out of the protocol because they have put money in previously. So that's kind of where we are with that. Hopefully it kind of changes the sentimental tide a bit as well, but time shall tell on that answer.
All right. We have one more question right now. Do we need to claim Polar before migrating, or can we just leave it there?
Yeah, so another great question. So Polar tokens will not migrate. The tokens themselves will not migrate to BSC. You will have to claim them prior to the migration process starting. We will give ample time to do so because once we switch the DApp over to which it's no longer on AVAX, then we will not be able to claim your nodes from there. So that's going to be a bigger thing, but we'll give ample notice there, and we'll try to let people be able to claim their tokens at a pretty expedient rate. Then you'll still be able to sell them on the LP that we have established on Avalanche. It is not going to go away. That LP is going to stay here, and then we'll just establish a new LP on BSC for the new tokens. So you do have to claim your nodes prior to migration. Please keep an eye out on the announcements because we will announce it many, many, many times. I'll probably announce it 2 or 3 times a day between the announcement channel and the chats so that we can all get that fair time to go in and claim your Polar tokens before they're inaccessible once we migrate. We do have Keith looking to speak live, though. I was going to say 55 of you, someone's got to want to have a question, but Keith is the reliable one from tomorrow's time zone, according to my world. Hey, how's it going, Keith? Oh no, I cannot hear you. Keith from New Zealand. Going once. Strange. I see you mute and unmute, but I don't see a little green box showing that you would receive audio input. So we'll let you maybe resolve that. Sometimes just restart it real quick and it'll work. I'll try to bring you back up. Polar Dividend, don't go anywhere. I'll get to you next. What's going on, Keith? Oof. It's not doing you well today, friend. So sad. You always have great questions. All right, Polar Dividend. We're gonna roll over to you. If Keith, keep working on it. We'll get you up here if you have time before usually you're getting to work. What's going on, Polar Dividend?
Hey there, how you doing? I haven't been able to keep track of what's going on, so I'm on here listening. I know you mentioned before that when we do the transition to version 4, go to the BSC, you're going to give instructions on how to do that, how to migrate?
Of course, yep. We'll have detailed instructions. I'll have everything from how to add BSC to your MetaMask to how to migrate to all that good stuff there. So I'll put all that out there in the announcement channels.
Awesome, yeah, because I'm a newbie to all this, and people, you guys who are real good at it, you guys say, "Oh, go here and do this and do that." It's like you start looking for this stuff, and it's like, whoa. So yeah, if we have something like that, I'm in it, and I want to follow over. I love what you guys are doing. I know it's rough times, and I do hope for a good future here. So that's all I wanted to say. Keep up the good work, and I'll be looking for those instructions.
Hey, yeah, definitely feel you, man. Appreciate that. And I'll put them out there once we get the announcement for when the migration is going. Quite frankly, because not a ton of people are paying attention to my announcements right now, as foreseen in the general chats when they ask the same questions. So I'll get them excited about the migration, and I'll put out the instructions at the same time.
Awesome. I periodically check those. I've reached out to you. You've helped me with some things in the past, so I'll just continue to do the same. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a good one.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming up here. Have a good day.
Bye.
There we go. Let's see. Again, I'm still kind of surprised. I know I haven't had a ton. Oh, I see you now, Kai Sander. You're in the general chat, though. Kai Sander, you're not even in our AMA. So sad. I don't think you are. If you are in here, then maybe I can talk to you. You are in here. Okay, fantastic. You are in the general chat and you are here. So migration is not here just yet. Like I said, that we will give information out there via the announcement channel here. So please try to keep an eye on that. I generally keep that main announcement channel really only for formal and official announcements. The other stuff will be stuff that if you don't see, it's okay. But hopefully we can get this thing going live. I went into it a little bit earlier where we do have some delays on the front end side. That's okay. It happens. I did apologize for it not being early to mid-October already, but I'll do it again. We understand that delays aren't, they're not accepted by the clientele or by us as what we are dealing with here. So definitely appreciate that. Should we stop paying out generated tokens, or will they be worthless? I think I read about. Okay, so they're not really going to be worthless, but the Polar token right now in AVAX will no longer be supported by the protocol itself. So right now, the liquidity pool on AVAX has $22.3 thousand in it. That's combined between AVAX and the Polar token itself. So the only sales that can happen on this LP is until that liquidity pair can no longer tolerate the price impact when someone goes to sell. So at some point that'll get drained down. We are not going to remove it. We're going to give everyone that opportunity to continue to sell their tokens if they so choose to, even if it's only for a little bit there, here and there, because hey, this is your LP, not ours. This is the token liquidity pair, so that's going to remain untouched by us, and then we'll get a new token on BSC.
So Keith is requesting to speak again. I'll try to invite him.
It looks like he'll just have to accept it. Keith, what's going on, friend?
Good morning from the future. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you. How's it over there in the future?
Awesome. Yeah, it's not too bad actually. I can't give any insights. It's same time, but no,
Yeah,
we're
they're
just doing good.
NDAs.
We're coming into our summer. Cool. No, I just had to switch the laptop. I don't know what was happening with my mobile phone, but the first question I've got relates back to the very first question that was asked, and I think what the community member was asking was not having a node minted in its current state on AVAX, but running a lottery to win and mint in V4 on BSC. Would that be an option? So instead of either claiming our tokens as they currently are with the price on its way down, is there a way to run an existing lottery without unpausing the contract? Obviously, then people getting current nodes, but is there a way to run a lottery right now or before we move, and the winner of that lottery then is able to have a new node minted on BSC?
Okay, yeah. So I do apologize. Definitely misunderstood their question. That one makes a lot more sense. So that's a very interesting question there. I don't necessarily know how that smart contract works, but that's something I can bring up to Josh and to Enor. And maybe it's a lottery, maybe it's just a contest. We just do a Twitter contest, try to get people re-engaged on the social media, whatever. The things I used to do, like, retweet, tag 2 friends, all that nonsense there, and then do a random generator. That's another kind of just thing to do here as we're pushing towards V4.0. That's just a good way to get some exposure in general, I think, and it's kind of fair. But also a lottery to let people use their current tokens. Yeah, that would make sense to me. I just got to figure out how the contracts might work in general, but I don't foresee that being complicated. If it pulls a winner and can't distribute a node, at least we have that address for the winner, and we get to use that, right? So same thing.
Awesome, thank you. And the second question was, when we choose to migrate to BSC, will the nodes have some life in them to start with, or are they going to be given 0 life and we'll need to inject fresh capital to purchase potions to get them earning again?
So yes and yes. There will be nodes that go over there with full life. There will be nodes that go over there with a portion of their life, and there will be nodes that go over there with 0 life left in them. Those last 2 would need to be rebolstered, right? That's going to be mainly determined by the creation numbers. So for example, nodes. This is not a formalized number, so please don't everyone go pitchfork me with whatever. But let's just say every node created before 30,000 or whatever it might be will transfer over at 0%. Every node created before 40,000 will have 50%. And then every node created, after that has 100%, but is downgraded or, combined or whatever the aspect might be. That's kind of the general theory there, so that those older nodes that have already been able to receive ROI, especially we're talking, January, February, March, April, those are going to likely go over with either no health or lower health. And then the ones that were created for pennies on the dollar will go over with full health, but you'll have to combine them in some aspect or downgrade them or something along those lines.
Fantastic. That really clarifies that question, Shib. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the move.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you for the questions here. Good to talk to you again.
Awesome. Cheers, you too. Have a good evening.
All right. Hey, appreciate it. Have a good day, man.
You too.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right. Let's see what else we got here in the world. Looks like we have a couple more questions that have popped up.
Yeah, next question is from Nieman. Has a final decision been made yet in relation to migration of nodes? Will we just see a simple 1-for-1 downgrading, or will we be able to merge nodes, for example, 3-for-1? The latter would make it much easier in my opinion, and reduce your migration cost for holders, whilst also lowering overall node count, which would bode well for investor sentiment, seeing a lower number of nodes?
Yeah, so right now the decision, as far as I'm aware, is made, and it is going to be at least an option at merging nodes together. And the exact numbers of that have also already been determined, but I'm just not at the liberty to go release those just yet. I'd like that information to be put out with the white paper so we can have the totality of the situation displayed to you guys. But yeah, so this is a prime example, Neiman, of an idea that was brought up by the community that was not on our minds, that you guys suggested. We actually changed course, and we can start working with you and bring that live on the real end, which I think is cool, right? So if anyone wasn't aware, we were initially just going to downgrade nodes like crazy for the migration. Someone in the community, might have even been Neiman originally, I don't really remember, Sergeant Slicka, one of the two, I think. And they said, hey, what if we could just combine, or maybe even Keith, probably all of them. So what if we can just combine our nodes together so one Everest becomes, whatever. So 10 Everest become 1 Everest, or whatever the case might be, so that we can still keep Everest because we like having Everest, and then we can move that reduced number over because it'll also reduce migration costs, right? So that was a very good theory, very good, presentation by the community, and we took their input and brought it up, and yeah, move forward. It's a good one.
All right, so the next question from Thorbob. On the life potions, will it use BNB or USDC or something else?
As far as I'm aware, Thorbob, it'll be a stable coin. As far as I'm aware, I think it's going to be USDC, but I'll get clarification on that. I think it's going to be a stable coin. I'm pretty positive on that one. Technically, BNB would be cheaper to interact with, but then you have to have the smart contract to vary it by cost. That can get a little messy. I think it's going to be a stable coin, though.
All right. So, question from Keith. Will the white paper have the costs of the migration?
So it will not, solely because that is a variable number, right? So we can, I'm sure a dev can say, hey, this is the estimated cost, per transaction point of my contract, but I don't really know, right? So if you have 100 nodes, if you have 2,000 nodes, if you have one node, if BSC is going crazy that day because of whatever, that's going to increase the transaction cost, right? So there's a lot of different elements that go into, what cost the gas transactions to be pushed out there. So I don't fully know just yet on what those costs are going to be. The white paper will not have that information. If we can get some input from the developer or even get it on a test net, like I said, I can really get a good estimate via testnet, even if it's a testnet on the Fuji network, the Avalanche testnet, which is kind of how a lot of people will do testnets because they can do more tests with their AVAX token, even if it's going to be on BSC. So those kind of things would help. It would say, hey, this is a lower cost contract, a middle cost contract, or a higher cost contract, but it's still not going to give me a finite number and say, okay, this is what it will cost per node, because there's a lot of different things that I just personally don't know, and we really won't know until they're deployed.
All right, perfect. Then the next question from Ben Mac. What will happen to those that compound their nodes to support the polar instead of taking profit?
Yeah, so another great question there, Ben. So we are doing these assessments based off the number that the node was created. So your earlier numbered node will be treated differently than one that was created in the 90,000 mark, for example, right? So if you're one of the early lads here back in the good old days when 100 nodes was a big deal, back in the Fuji days when there was only one tier, those nodes will be very, very early on. And even if you only compounded indefinitely, you still put a big return technically on the protocol itself, right? So there's a lot more emissions emitted, there's more nodes created, you had a lot more opportunity to actually get to that ROI in a sense, maybe not in a dollar sense if you didn't take it, but the smart contracts are not going to be able to differentiate that. We've migrated 3 times previously. It's literally almost impossible to go back all the way to our original version back in January 11th and then kind of piece it together from the update in February, then the update in April, and then of course the update in October or November at this point. So unfortunately, those will all be determined by the date that they were created via the node number itself. So if that is, I guess, could cause some people some headache, I guess, but we've talked about that a lot. I think people kind of understand that, and I know it's maybe not the fairest in a logical sense, but from a practical sense, it's very hard and kind of very hard to differentiate. And then it still creates a new emission potential in the future. So that's kind of the answer to that, unfortunately.
All right, we have two people requesting to speak. I'll invite Osman up first.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Okay, so I had a question. So when you calculate the ROI, do you calculate it in?
I kind of lost you there. Can you still hear me, Julian?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
I think,
He cut out there, but I did get your question. So Osman, you're cutting out a bit. If you can mute yourself real quick, I'll answer your question though. I'll just mute you for you. I do understand your question. So we're not calculating it by ROI. We're calculating it by the date the node was created. So it's not going to be a dollar amount or a token amount. It's going to be a number that the node was created. So for example, 97,000 plus nodes right now, there's a number between 1 and 97 something thousand that those nodes are created. Each one is given a number. So we're going to be doing our assessments based off the number. So more or less the date they were created and the what the token price was at that date to kind of formulate our conclusions moving forward, rather than just an ROI by token or ROI by dollar. Because as we get further into the future, it's hard to tell. Originally, we were looking at late April when we were trying to get this kind of update out last like July and August. But obviously, we are approaching November now. So this is the cleanest way to do it, in my opinion. I do apologize for muting you. There's a lot of background noise, but I have unmuted you. Hopefully, you could hear me with that response.
Yeah, I hear. But the question is, it's possible to migrate nodes that haven't ROI with zero health based on the number, right?
Yes, technically. So it just depends when they were created, and then kind of like I said, there will be different numbers given out there for how the migration is going to work, but it'll be a differentiating one between different tiers of nodes.
Pending rewards that we have right now on our nodes, what happens to them?
So once we start the migration to BSC, your pending rewards will no longer be able to be claimed. You will have to claim them prior to the migration. The tokens will not migrate over to BSC, however, but a liquidity pair on AVAX will remain here. So if you do wish to sell your tokens, you can do so as long as the LP can maintain that price impact of your token.
Okay. It doesn't really make sense because a lot of nodes are not ROI. I bought a couple of nodes, which I think were polar. I didn't put too much money in it, but I still haven't ROI. So it means that basically I'm losing it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, man, and we're kind of just at a point that
I mean, it would be easy enough to write a script to see how much was put in, how much was taken out by a wallet, and see who had the return on investment on that.
Yeah, sure. I definitely understand that there. I think more so we're trying to prevent the same issues that we've currently had here over time. And I do know that's, like I kind of mentioned, I'm not trying to downplay it at all. I totally understand what you're getting at there, and it's not the most advantageous thing for everybody. That's for dang sure. I'm totally aware of that. But at some point we do have to make decisions, and unfortunately for the ability for this thing to progress further into the future, this was kind of the cleanest way to do it, where it still took into account those nodes who have not ROI'd, but it also took into account the nodes that were created for $1 or $2 compared to those that were created for $3,000 to $4,000 back in April and May. So we kind of have to find that balancing beam act. It's been very, very challenging. But that being said, no excuses. We are where we are right now in the
I
space.
think
We got to
whatever
keep
you
moving forward.
migrate should be fair, right? It should be looked at each wallet, write a script or something to look at who had ROID. I mean, I never compounded. I just bought 2 nodes, and I'm still under the water, right? And now you're gonna migrate under some magic number, and it doesn't make sense to me. That's all.
Yeah, man, I understand. Hopefully, once we get that white paper out, some of it makes a little bit more sense. Like I said, I do want it to be displayed in the totality of the circumstances that we are going to be presenting to you guys. So once I can get that out, and I do significantly appreciate that question there, because what you're saying is what's on a lot of people's minds and has been so really since May when the markets crashed. So I'm not saying that it's perfect by any means. I think it's far from it.
I just wanted to be safe, put in get couple of nodes, get my initial out, and see what happens, right? I never got my initial out, and now it's possible that I'll never get it out. And there are some people who compounded, and it was their choice, just like you said it, right? It was their choice to compound, and then they didn't get their ROI. But I never compounded. I just wanted to get the initial out first. But then, this is what happens.
Yeah, I know, man, and actually, I totally understand it. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully the white paper can kind of clean it up a little bit. And I do understand what you're saying, but it might not even be an impact to you potentially, depending on what the white paper is displayed and kind of makes sense. It may or may not be. I don't really know when you created your node or what you paid for it or even what kind of node, right?
I mean, it was still in a couple of dollars. I think $3 or $2.50 or something like that. That's when I created it. So I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was early April.
Okay, yeah. So technically, the notes from early April would have ROI'd, at least potentially, and that's kind of where I got it a little bit before. But I understand what you're saying. Well, why can't we differentiate those who have actually compounded compared to those who didn't? We start kind of playing it's a difficult game where maybe at most you could say, hey, potentially differences of life potions, but we can't really give money back because right now, if you do the math of all the nodes, we have like $8 and something cents per node available in our entire treasury. So that's a little bit difficult in that sense, and it also prevented from moving forward in the future. So hopefully it makes sense when I get the white paper out. That AMA will be much more detailed because, like I said, I've already read it and I know what I can go into. I just can't go into it just yet until we got the final, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right, you'll see.
All right, Sense. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming up here.
Thank you.
And again, great questions there. And, I do feel bad too for a lot of that. So please, if you do have questions, anything at all, that's what I'm here for, is to kind of work through it. And I totally understand, what Oz is getting at there. It makes a lot of sense. It just kind of has, however we have to deploy this next version, hopefully it's fair to as much, the biggest portion of people that it can be. All right, Coin, what's going on?
Good afternoon, folks. I have a couple questions. One is the specialty nodes, like the Ruby, Everest, Emerald, Fuji's, and such like that. When those carry over, are they going to still have some type of specialty apparatus about them in the new BSC area?
All right, so that one, I don't know exactly how they're going to transfer over at this point personally, but I can say the future theory on the special nodes is a pretty good one. It ties into the gamification pretty well. So there will be, the emeralds, the rubies, all that stuff there, the diamonds, they'll all have a special role in the ecosystem into the future. Now, exactly how those nodes that are here today switch over, I'm not 100% sure just yet. But like I said, I do know that the ones that are over there, and then when you obtain them over there, will have a different role than the regular ones will.
Excellent. And the other question I have, I remember reading something a while back. I don't know if it's still in play, that if you had one of each of the base nodes, Fuji through Everest, that you would have some type of special compensation or something like that in the transition also. Is that still valid?
Not at this time. So that was an idea back at the beginning of version 3.0. Kind of once the markets have flipped on us, we kind of had to pull that away. Can't put out more emissions. What I would like to see, though, and I could bring this up to Enor because he's kind of the lead on the game side, is that could be another incorporation to the Polaris and the kind of future ecosystem there. That would make sense to me, right? So, I've kind of mentioned I'm not the biggest gamer on the planet by any means, but I think that would appeal to that audience there, where if you had each level of node, maybe it does increase, something for you for those who just want to have the nodes, but definitely it could, in my mind, increase the ability in the gamification aspect pretty simply, right? So hopefully we can get something worked up on that. I think that'll be a pretty cool thing, and it kind of pushes that collector mindset, which is also nice.
Well, that's it that I have for questions. I do have one statement though. A couple statements, if I may. The whole aspect here of ROIing and things of this nature, I can understand where people are coming from, but again, you have to realize investing is speculative. You have to have that possibility of not ROIing. So just to remind people, only invest what you're willing to lose. If you're not willing to lose it, don't put it in there into any type of investment. I've been with you all since early on, like February, March timeframe, I think it was when I started getting into it and buying nodes, and my wife got in. We've got a bunch of people in on it. If it fails, it fails. If it succeeds, it succeeds. But I want to be here with it. I've been looking forward to your transition here. I've been looking forward to these upgrades. The fact that even with the market the way it is, you guys, your devs are still pounding out on this and working it through it is amazing to me. And that's why I'm going to stick through it, even once we transition over to BSC, because I see that as a positive. Fees are going to be a lot less than what they are on AVAX and doing exchanges and such. So I just see a lot of positive coming out of it, and I appreciate everybody's work on it on your other side.
Yeah, hey, I definitely appreciate you there, man. And it's been challenging for a lot of people in DeFi on deep levels. So I even know people within Polar. I was back here in January pleading with people, do not over leverage. Yeah, I worked for Polar. Said do not put in more than you can afford, because DeFi, crypto is so volatile, finance is so volatile. But unfortunately, not everyone has that mindset. They want to try to get out of their circumstances and life, and I totally get that mindset too. But yeah, hopefully, people are doing okay. I kind of go into mental health sometimes on these AMAs, but nevertheless, hopefully everyone's good, and then we can all learn, right? So I've even learned so much this year. This is a deep kind of bear market that we can all sit here and learn from in a variety of different aspects and start moving forward kind of as we can, and maybe a little safer, whatever the case might be, of course.
Yes, sir. And I've enjoyed talking with you all before. I know YouTube Lord that been with some of your other AMAs and things on Twitter Spaces and such, and I have great respect for you as for your foresight, your insight, and just your ability to speak well with people. And so I'll get off here and let somebody else have at it. I just appreciate what you're doing here.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming up here, and we'll see you on the other side. Maybe even next week's AMA. Who knows? But hey, I appreciate you, man, for real. All right, cool.
All right, we have a few more questions in the AMA Questions Weekly channel.
All right.
Question from Polo Dividend. I'm sorry. Will we be able to use the new BNB tokens that get generated on the new nodes on V4 to pay for the potions, or will we need to put in new money?
So that I don't think it's been determined that nodes are going to be producing BNB, right? So I think what you're saying is, are you able to like sell generated tokens to pay for potions? I guess technically, yeah, that would make sense. But how that all works, I don't really know just yet. But obviously, the ones that start at 0 are going to have to get that BNB or that stable coin on the BSC side from somewhere in order to put that money back into the system, right? So if you do have accumulated rewards and you use it for potions, then yeah, that would make sense.
All right, next question. If we don't care about the Polar on AVAX, do we still need to claim it?
No. If you choose not to claim it, then it is what it is. You just won't be able to access it later on, and that's about it.
All right, short answer. Great. And the last question so far from PS Daddy. What's the deal with the special notes being downgraded? Does an Everest Ruby go to an Everest Emerald? The same for Olympus Diamond to an Olympus? I think you kind of already went into this, but
Yeah, I think I went into it there. I think I went into it after his question, hopefully, but I don't quite know exactly how those special NFTs are going to be reduced just yet. They will be, in some aspect, downgraded from where they are now or otherwise altered via life potions or whatever the case might be. But I honestly don't know exactly what they're going to become, whether it's a Ruby Everest becomes whatever Everest. I personally don't know. But as soon as I get that information out there, and I can confirm it, hopefully that'll be something in the white paper so everyone can get that base level of understanding. Then we can kind of move forward on that. But that's a great question, man. I truly don't know just yet on that very specific question.
all right. I think I think you covered all the questions that were in the different channels.
Yep, looks like it here.
Looks like
All general, all AMA questions. Let me make sure no one's raising their hand. Yep, looks all good there. So I guess that's good here. So I just want to say, hey, honestly, genuinely thank you guys for joining us again here on this community AMA. I know it's kind of monotonous, right? So definitely appreciate you guys in here. We're trying to get these things live. I genuinely appreciate you having 55 plus people in this AMA, even though we don't have a ton of new things coming out just yet, and we're still working towards it. So shout out to you guys. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for asking live. I prefer to talk with people live a lot. It's kind of, more real than just reading questions as well. So shout out to each and every one of you here in the community. Shout out to you, Julian, for helping me out here. I think since we really last talked, I've already been in and out of Germany, so it's been a pretty crazy month as well. But definitely appreciate you guys. Please keep an update. Keep check on that announcement channel here. We'll put out updates often. As soon as they're available, I'll put them out there for you guys, and we'll be available in the chats. And then again, same time, same place next week on our weekly Polar Community AMA. So beyond that, have a great day, fam. Peace out. And we will talk to you then.
bye.